Programming extension number 9 is the Pit of Doom. Let's have a look at this. A new item in the cavern. If the player hits the Pit of Doom, they die, and if the monster hits it, they win. So, not a great addition, is it? Okay, let's have a look at the code. Right, so the approach to take here is, okay, so I changed the monster move count to 2, so the monster behaves as it did originally. But what I've done is in the game class just simply create a new private attribute, which I've just called Pit. Couldn't quite be bothered to type Pit of Doom everywhere. So Pit, and I've just made it a new item. So much like the flask was an item, I could possibly have made it a type of trap. That might have been better. So I could test if it was triggered and could have extended it, perhaps made Pit a subclass of traps. But I've just made it an item. And if you remember, an item is our superclass. If I go and have a look at it, which has a position, and we can get its position, set its position, and do a test to find out if another object is at the same position as the item. So I think that's enough functionality to work with the Pit of Doom. So anyway, we've got a new private attribute called Pit, so we'll have a new object at runtime. And now, not only am I checking if when the player moves, have they landed on the monster, and then there's handling of traps down here, but I've also got, has the player landed on the Pit of Doom? And I do have a check of whether the monster has hit the Pit of Doom here as well. I'm just actually, I did write this, I did test it, thought it worked, but I'm just wondering if actually the monster hit Pit should be in the monster move. So where the monster moves in this loop, I do a check here. So I guess, I'm not sure, we'll see. I'm not entirely sure whether this will ever evaluate as true. Well, evaluate as true indeed. Okay, anyway, so we've got the player moving and we're testing if the players hit the pit. And now, just like we've got all the other tests about showing whether we've got to the end of the game, we've got the not flask found and not eaten. I've now had to add and not player hit Pit and not monster hit Pit, because these two booleans now indicate that the game has finished, essentially, just like the eaten and the flask found. So I've had to add those into this this loop here, which checks for traps, and in here as well, which moves the monster. There's no point in moving the monster if the game's finished. And onto the exit condition for the loop. So if player's eaten, or player found the flask, or the player hit the pit, or the monster hit the pit, or the player exited, then come out of the game. So there's just that handling there, really, for hitting the Pit of Doom. What else is to say about this? Okay, I've created some extra methods to display the hit pit message. If the player hits the pit or the monster hits the pit. What else do we have? So these are the new messages. Display eaten message, display player hit message, and I'm just I actually got rid of the display lost game message, and I've sort of put it down here. It's not called directly, it's called by these three methods. So they pass in a string which then gets put in the message, and then game over. So you hit the pit of doom, or the monster hit the pit of doom, game over. Maybe you'll get better luck next time. Okay, so anyway, I've added two more methods that return messages. The other thing that needs to be done is during the game setup, the pit of doom needs to be set randomly using the set position of item, and I've got a P to indicate it's the pit of doom. Oh, okay. I put some open close brackets there for some reason. Yes, in VB, I think I mentioned before, you can construct any method that doesn't take parameters. You can put an open close bracket or leave them off in VB. It looks a bit neater with them off, I guess. Though I do think open close bracket is good to indicate that you are invoking a method. So set the position there. If it's not a training game, if it is a training game, then set the pit of doom position at position 4-4. And the only other thing to do is in the load and save is to save and retrieve the positions of the pit of doom. So that has meant adding the pit of doom into the game data as well. Where's the game data? Here, game data. So this is the structure we use to store all the positions of elements within the game, so they can be written to file and retrieved from file. That's it really. It's not really massively interesting one, but not too much there.